I might actually be breaking some records today, some channel records, because I think that I have the craziest sneaker that I've ever reviewed on this channel ever. And that's not a joke. And that shoe is the Off White ODSY 1000 in blue and red. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. And of course, don't forget to enter the Air Jordan 4 winter giveaway that I'm running for the next couple days. All the information and the links that you need are in the description below. Seriously, you should enter it because this shoe doesn't come out till December 2nd. So you'd have this shoe mad early. And that's a pretty big flex. And the reason I'm using the term flexing today when I'm not usually someone who flexes or considers himself a hype beast or even really uses the word flexing is because today's shoe you have to grab only to flex. You can't grab this because you think it looks good. Because this shoe is not really a looker. I mean, it's a looker, but not in the way that I think most people would want to be looked at. But before we talk about the aesthetics, I feel like it's important to note that this shoe retails for a price of $715. And that's nuts. I mean, that's insane. To be fair, that's not totally out of the norm for designer sneakers. In fact, a lot of Gucci's and Balenciagas and sneakers like that retail for between $700 and $1,200. So in that sense, you could almost consider this sneaker on the budget end of the designer shoes. But now that we've got the insane price out of the way, let's talk about the sneaker itself. And I think it's important to note that this shoe is just purely an Off-White sneaker. It's not any kind of collaboration. It's not a collab with Nike. It's just an Off-White designer shoe. And so because of that, this shoe, at least to my knowledge, is not based on any previous silhouette. It's purely cooked up by Off-White and Virgil Abloh to look just like this from scratch. And I think the main reason this shoe looks like this is so that it gets you the most attention possible. And I feel like that's sort of the case for a lot of designer sneakers. Whenever you see someone wear this shoe, you know that they either bought the shoe themselves for $700 or at least put it on their credit card for $700, or maybe they have a friend or family member who got it for them. And so because of that, the assumption is that they have money, or at least that's what they're hoping that you assume. And I know that's not true for every single person who wears this shoe. I'm sure there are people out there who just love the fact that this shoe looks crazy, and that's totally fine. Or maybe they just love the way it feels on feet, which I wouldn't personally get, but hey, I'm sure there's people like that out there as well. But I think the main reason that people buy sneakers like this is to be seen and to show off their status a little bit. And just to make it clear, I'm not judging those people at all. I don't have a problem with those people. In fact, most of the people in sneaker culture wear shoes to be seen, so I totally understand it. I do it myself. But when you're dropping $800 on a shoe that looks like this, then there are some questions. The first thing you may have noticed about this shoe itself is that even though it's my size, a size 9, it looks like it could be a size 13. I don't know why it looks so oversized. It might be because of this giant midsole, but for whatever reason, it just looks massive. In fact, let me compare it to the Air Jordan 4s that I'm giving away. Look how big of a difference that is. That's crazy. Why is it like that? Also, while I'm at it, I kind of want to weigh this sneaker because it's stupid heavy. I don't understand it. Okay, got the scale. Let's compare it to some Epic Reacts because that's the only other shoe I have in this room. And I know this is going to be crazy because this is a super light shoe, but I'm kind of interested. Okay, so the Epic Reacts weigh 7.7 ounces. Now let's weigh this thick boy right here. 1 pound, 8.2 ounces. That is insane. But moving on past the insane weight of this sneaker, let's get into some of the materials themselves. And hopefully this shoe actually has some nice materials because you're definitely paying for them. Around the toe of the shoe, you've got some black nubuck that almost wraps all the way around the sneaker. And just behind that, you've got some navy blue leather, which looks pretty nicely tumbled, but there's only like half an inch of it, so it's not like you're getting that much. Behind that, you've got some clear plastic mesh, which actually runs from the toe to the midfoot of the sneaker. And through that plastic mesh, you can actually see 2 different kinds of padded meshes and a red stitching detail that kind of holds them all together. Of course, by this point, I'm sure that you've already noticed the giant red off-white arrow that wraps from the midfoot of the sneaker all the way around to the front of the toe. I think it's fair to say that it's a pretty unique detail, and surprisingly, I think it's actually my favorite part of the shoe. I don't know what it is. I just like the shape. I like the color. I just like it. I don't know. I'm surprised at myself, but I do. Behind that, you've got this black leather with these slits in it that has the sort of flywire type or flywire-esque lacing system that comes in white. As I'm sure you've noticed, you've got these bright neon green flat laces, and that seems to be the only place where neon green is present on the shoe. At the end of the laces, you've got the word shoelaces in quotation marks printed in black. And attached to the laces on the right shoe, you've got the signature off-white zip tie. Underneath the laces, you've got this black nylon tongue with this really interesting sort of pink and clear rubber off-white tag at the top, which is kind of a weird look. It also has this weird texture to it. It's like bumpy. I don't understand it. Of course, like most other Off-White sneakers, you've got an unfinished tongue with exposed foam. And then the sock liner of the shoe comes in this yellow mesh, and the inside of the sneaker is rounded off with the yellow insole with the Off-White arrows in black on the heel. As for fit, the shoe does seem to fit a little bit big, which isn't surprising because it's kind of a boat. But I don't know if I'd suggest going a whole size down because I don't think that there's half sizes. I probably would just wear a thicker pair of socks. That said, it's not uncomfortable. The upper is pretty well padded. It's not the coolest shoe in the world. Like, you're not going to get a lot of ventilation, but it's not going to be too hot on your feet. I do have to say that the weight of the shoe is definitely a factor when it comes to comfort. After wearing this shoe for a couple hours or even a couple days, your feet are going to be tired and your legs are going to be tired, but after about a month, you're probably going to have these awesome ripped calves. So if you're looking for a foot workout. One last thing before we move on, and I'll get into it again when we get to the outsole of the shoe, but this midsole plus these spikes adds like a whole 1.5 inches to your height, which for some people might be a great thing. For other people, it just doesn't really matter. For me, it was a weird experience. I felt a little unstable, and I also feel like these spikes have something to do with it too, because I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. It feels like you're walking on spikes, I guess is the best way to describe it. Things that you wouldn't usually think are tough to walk over are pretty difficult to walk over in this shoe. It's a new experience, and I'm not sure it's one that is a good experience. Continuing back on the shoe, you've got a whole just mess of crap going on the heel. You've got this sort of semi-translucent light blue rubber panel. You've got this clear mesh that's not just a clear mesh, but it's like mesh overlaid by some sort of clear plastic. You've got more of that red stitching. And then moving around to the back of the sneaker, you've got this off-white pull tab, which is very similar to the off-white belt, except now it's a pull tab. So there's that. I mean, it sort of feels out of place, but I don't know why I'd expect anything less from this shoe, to be honest. Just below that in the rubber, you've got this debossed ruler pattern. Not sure why that's there. Maybe it's to measure the height that you gain when you are wearing this shoe. I have no idea. And then moving down to the rest of the midsole, you've got this heavily sculpted, super thick chunk of rubber on the bottom of your foot. I actually don't mind the shape of this midsole or the patterns that run along the side of it. I like the fact that they kept it one color and not like Balenciaga does, where it's like 5 different colors or 3 different midsoles stacked on top of each other. I feel like this is a nice sort of break from the craziness on the rest of the sneaker. I'm sure by this point you figured out that the reason this shoe is so heavy is because of this super thick midsole, which is all one giant chunk of rubber. I mean, it sounds like I'm knocking on a door. It's crazy. And then, of course, moving to the bottom of the sneaker, we get to one of the most eye-catching and also most insane details on the sneaker, this spiky, almost trail outsole. In fact, it might even be more than just a trail outsole. It might be like a moon boot outsole. I don't know what to call it. It has a very porcupine-like look. It actually grosses me out a little bit. It looks like you're looking through a microscope at a bug, or like the feet of a bug. Ugh. Oh, that feels gross. I shouldn't have done that. I don't know why I did that. The midsole and outsole might seem like the most tame part of the shoe because of the color, but when you actually get a good look at this outsole and see this weird sort of bug texture on the bottom, I mean, it's just as weird as the rest of the shoe. This is a weird sneaker overall. And like I said at the beginning of the video, some people might love that. It might not just be about the flex. Maybe they love the way this shoe looks, but I think that's a very small minority of people who are buying this sneaker. One thing I noticed while walking in this shoe is how weird everything felt underfoot. Like when I was walking on a hardwood floor, because this is all smooth rubber, I was actually sliding around. It was kind of a weird feeling. Not only that, but when I was walking down the stairs from my studio to go outside to film the On Feet, I was tripping down the stairs because these spikes kept getting caught on the edges of the stairs, and it was sketchy. I don't know what to say about this sneaker. This sneaker is definitely unique. This is probably the craziest sneaker that I've ever reviewed. I've reviewed some weird sneakers, but this one might be number one. I don't know if I would call this a bad sneaker because I don't think it's a bad sneaker. It's pretty nicely manufactured. All the materials feel pretty premium. Granted, I don't think the materials alone make this shoe worth $700, but the craftsmanship is good on the shoe. There's no fraying threads. There's no glue marks. It's all around a pretty well put together sneaker. Whether you find this sneaker attractive or not is all up to you. It's really in the eye of the beholder. I don't personally think I would ever really wear this shoe, but I'm sure there are people out there who would wear it because they like the way it looks and not just because of the clout that apparently comes with it. That said, I probably wouldn't recommend spending the $700 on this shoe just because it's not an easy sneaker to wear. It's heavy. I don't think it looks that great, and it's not the most incredibly comfortable shoe in the world. But if you love the way this sneaker looks, or love the way it complements your outfit, or you're a huge Virgil fan, or hey, you're just wearing it for the clout, that's totally fine. You don't have to listen to me. But now is your chance to let me know your thoughts on the Off White ODSY 1000 and whether you'd grab this shoe or whether you'd let this one go. So let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, don't forget forget to enter the Air Jordan 4 winter giveaway. All the information that you need and the links that you need to enter are in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.